Hi guys, it's Lara. Thank you so much for watching and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing with my short series about how I went vegan. In my first video I have talked about my general experience, so I will link the video down below in the description box just in case you missed it, or if you're new here, in that case, welcome and thank you for stopping by. And today's episode is dedicated to food, so I'm gonna tell you how I switched to plant-based diet, what areas did I find a little bit more challenging and how long it took me. And also I am going to share with you a few tips that might be useful to anyone who is just considering going vegan or to anyone who just started out but finds some areas a little bit more challenging. So if you want to know more about that, then please keep watching. I told you in my previous video that I've been vegetarian for a while, and I have also admitted that it was not just because the ethical reasons. It was more of a diet for me back then than a lifestyle. Of course, I cared about the animals, that's why I stopped eating meat, but I didn't learn enough about the eggs and dairy industry. And in general, I was not educated enough, and I think mentally I wasn't ready. I hate admitting it, but that's the way it was, and I'm being honest with you guys. I'm never gonna try to make myself look better than what I am. I think being honest with each other is the best thing we can do, and also it's very important being honest with myself because that's the only way how I can grow as a person, how I can improve. Anyway, so I was vegetarian for a while, and after a while I started losing hair. And it was really bad. It was like that thick strands would come out and it freaked me out. And the first thing I could think of was, oh, maybe it's because I'm not eating meat. Because that's what you always hear. Like, if you go vegan or vegetarian, you're gonna lose teeth and this is gonna happen to you. You lose hair and blah, blah, blah. Of course, bullshit. I had my blood checked actually when I was still vegetarian. And then I had my blood checked after a while when I was eating meat again. And guess what? The blood results were better when I was vegetarian, way better than when I was eating meat again. The hair loss stopped only after I reduced stress because there was so much going on in my life. There were so many issues and it just went away only after I dealt with that. And my hair started growing really thick and nice only after I went vegan, so go figure. So that's the background story. Now, back to the time when I was eating meat again. After a while, it started feeling really wrong and I felt really bad about that, thank God. So I went to being pescatarian for a while. I started thinking about going at least vegetarian or even vegan. And that was when I did not start educating myself yet. But at the same time, I was afraid to make any extreme change in my life when it comes to my nutrition because I was still freaked out about my hair loss. So that was my excuse for that. Again, I'm just being honest. I'm not saying it was the right decision, but that's how it was. And after, I think like half a year or something like that, I started looking into veganism finally. And I started reading whatever information I found on the internet. I started watching a few YouTube channels, so I have seen there are so many different approaches. And then I found a few documentaries on Netflix. And I think the first documentary that completely changed the view, like my view of nutrition, was Food Matters. I was kind of freaked out. I was like, holy moly, didn't know that. If I'm not mistaken, that was also the documentary that mentioned the China study. Or maybe it was Fat, Sick and Nearly Death. I'm not sure, but one of these two was the documentary that mentions it. A very interesting study, definitely something I would recommend to look into. So yeah, and then I watched the Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead and Cowspiracy, and I was 100% convinced that going vegan is what I want to do. And so I went vegan. So as you can see, it was a process for me. I did not go vegan cold turkey. My husband actually went vegan cold turkey. After being vegan for 2 months, I think it was around my birthday, I asked him if he would want to watch one of these documentaries with me because I was like, I'm not saying you should go vegan, but I think there is so much information you would want to know. Do you want to watch it with me? And he was like, yeah, of course. So we watched the documentary, and after the film was finished, we sat there for a while. It was quiet, and then Jack was like, that's it, I'm going vegan. And he's been vegan ever since. So once I was convinced that I want to be vegan, there was no going back for me. And the switch to plant-based food was actually quite easy in general. but there were a few areas that I found a little bit more challenging. My approach to the switch to plant-based diet was following. I imagine myself traveling to a distant country that I don't know and discovering new foods. This is how I imagined me learning about all the replacements and trying out new stuff that I didn't know before. I started reading a lot on the internet. I started looking into food blogs. They are so incredibly helpful. That was also partially one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I'm so grateful for anyone who is out there having a blog or a video blog sharing all the information, because that made the switch so much more easier than what it would be without them. When it comes to replacing meat, I found that really easy because I've been already vegetarian before, so I was used to cooking soy strips or tofu. I actually did not like seitan at the beginning at all. I found it weird, I didn't like the texture. Now, 2 years later, I love that stuff. Also, I didn't like smoked tofu before I went vegan, and now I love it. So I can tell that after a while, my taste completely changed. There are things that I enjoy way more than I did. There are things I didn't like that I like today. And some of the stuff that I enjoyed before, I don't like anymore. I just don't consume anything like that, not even the plant-based version. So you can definitely expect when you make the switch that this is also going to be a process, and you might end up eating stuff that you never thought you would like. I was basically cooking very similar to the way that I was used cooking before, only this time I wouldn't use meat or any animal fat. I was using soy strips, seitan, or tofu. We in general enjoy wok a lot, so that was pretty easy because you cook the wok basically the same way, only with tofu or seitan, and that's pretty much it. So that was something that made the switch definitely easier because we were fond of this type of food before already. We consumed many sausages at the beginning and quite a lot of processed food as well, because we were just trying out a few brands and a few types of sausages and slices just to see what we like to make the switch easier. I think I stopped eating sausages like after 3 months and stuff. Jack liked them for a little bit longer, and nowadays we eat them only occasionally when I'm cooking bangers and mash, the plant-based version of course, but that's probably like 4 times a year, maybe 5 times a year, and maybe more, but it's not that often. It's not like we would eat it every single week or stuff like that. So if that's something that would help you, I highly recommend trying out some processed food. It's not the healthy version, and it's not something you would want to eat long term, plus they can be very expensive. But if you have some cravings, if you miss the texture of meat and the taste, that might make the switch easier. You don't have to eat it every day. Also, I would highly recommend not to give up if you buy slices and you hate them, because they taste very different from different brands and different types taste different. So you really have to try out a few alternatives just to find your favorite type of slices. And the same goes for sausages, also for the meat replacement. I don't like every single strips that they have in stores. They have something that's pea protein based. Not my thing. I like the soy strips way better, but some people like the pea protein based strips better. So, we all like different things. So just try out as many things as possible. And if it's in your budget, maybe start with eating a little bit processed food if you have the craving. I mean, I'm not recommending eating processed food in general because it's processed food. Whole foods is always the best for you. But if you are making the switch and that makes it easier, definitely worth it. Sometimes I wanted to veganize something I really enjoyed before, and it was not always the case that I would like the first version so much that I would cook it again. Sometimes I had to try several versions. So same like with the sausages or the slices or the meat replacement. If you're looking up for a recipe that should veganize something that you used to like, it is always best to look up a few recipes and try them all out and to see which one you like the best, because you want to make the switch sustainable, and it is no good eating something that you only half like if there are like 5 other versions that you would actually end up liking way more. There were 2 areas that I personally found quite challenging, and that was the cheese craving and finding great replacement for milk in my tea. I always loved chai tea and black tea with milk, and it took me a while until I found what I liked the best. Maybe it took also a while because I had to get used to not drinking milk because milk has a certain taste. Now, I have been always lactose intolerant, so I've been drinking lactose-free milk anyway because otherwise I couldn't have digested it. I had so many issues with my digestions whenever I would drink the tiniest amount of regular milk. So I don't know if it just took time because I had to be long enough far away from milk, or because I just had to get used to the taste. I don't know, but at the end, I like oat drink the best or cashew milk. These two are my definitely favorite milk replacement when I drink my chai tea or my cocoa tea or my black tea with milk. And cheese cravings, that was also something that bothered me at the beginning because I felt like, oh, I would love to have a cheese plate, but I didn't want to have it because of everything I learned. So I ended up eating a lot of vegan cheese, and again, just like with the other stuff, I liked some of the variations that I found in stores and I hated some of them. And some of them were so good that I had to read like 3 times, is it really vegan? Because they looked weird, but they tasted exactly like the type of cheese they were supposed to replace. So you just have to try again a few variations and see what works the best for you. Now, what would I recommend to anyone who thinks about going vegan or to anyone who just started out with the transition into a vegan lifestyle? First of all, don't you ever let anyone tell you that you're a bad person if you don't go vegan cold turkey. There is so much you have to learn. You have to do so much research when you're looking for vegan alternatives, and time is very limited, especially if you're working full time or even maybe working 2 jobs because you have to pay your bills because you're on a budget and the salary is so crappy in your area. That's a horrible situation already, and the last thing you need is someone to tell you you're a bad person just because you don't go vegan overnight. So please don't let ever anyone tell you that you're not a bad person. Do it in your pace, what is realistic for you, and take your time, because what you want is to make this switch sustainable for you. And that can only happen if you do it in your own pace. The next thing that I recommend is reading the ingredients list on every single product you are about to buy. You will be very surprised how many products have animal ingredients, and these are very often products where you would least expect them. Also, if you go shopping and you are very stressed, you're on a budget and you have only that much money left, and you come home and you find out, oh my god, the pasta I have bought has eggs in it. Don't throw it away, eat it up, because we are not living in an ideal world, and especially if you're on a budget, you don't have money to throw out. So you know better for the next time, but this time you slipped. The world is not gonna end, trust me. One thing you need to know about switching to plant-based diet is that the food has so much more fiber than the food you were used eating before. So obviously your digestion is going to react to it. So you might be bloated up at the beginning a lot. I mean, I've been bloated up for about 3 weeks. I'm sorry, I know that's too much information, but it wasn't exactly pleasant. So I used a lot of room perfume at that time. So I would highly recommend not making any big social plans for the first few weeks until your digestion is going to calm down and get used to the new way of eating. Also, during the last 2 years, I have discovered that there are certain foods that I just can't eat in big amounts because I'm always bloated up afterwards. For example, chickpeas. I love the taste. This is so unfair. I really like chickpeas. But when I eat too much of them, I have stomach cramps and I'm bloated up, and it's just not pretty. So I avoid eating chickpeas. I can have a little bit of hummus in my sandwich or maybe like 3 falafels, but that's pretty much it. Anything beyond that is just too much for my digestion, and it just doesn't agree with me. That doesn't mean that you can be vegan. You can eat something else instead. For example, whenever I am thinking about eating something with chickpeas, I just switch to white beans because for whatever reason, I can eat white beans without any problem in any amount, and I have no issue whatsoever, but it's not the same with chickpeas. So if you find out that there is some food that makes you feel uncomfortable, that you're gonna be really having cramps afterwards, try to find out what it is and maybe try to switch to, for example, a different type of legumes. I can't eat every single type of beans. For example, black beans, even though I love them, always bloat me up. I have no issue with kidney beans. I have no issue with beetle beans or with pinto beans. So I don't know why it is, but it's just the way it is. So just like with any other nutrition, you will find out that some food does not agree with your stomach or some type of eating. For example, I would like to eat more raw, but I found that when I was eating basically just raw food, my digestion was off. I am way better off with eating partially cooked food and partially raw food. Then I have no problems whatsoever. It might change in future, but right now it's the way it is. So don't force yourself into something that clearly doesn't agree with your digestion. Just try to find some other plant-based alternatives. There is so much food out there, so many plants and so many delicious things. So just don't limit yourself with stuff that doesn't do you any good. One very important thing is you have to eat enough. You have to get enough calories. So you can find several apps that will help you to find out how many calories you need according to your height and weight, and also according to your age and gender. I, for example, downloaded the app called LifeSum, and for a while I would enter a couple of times a week what I ate just to make sure that I was eating enough. Also, I can tell you from my experience, at times when I was not eating enough, I always had these cravings. Especially at the beginning, your body is going to tell you when you're not going to get enough calories, go and eat ham or eat bacon, because that's what the body and brain remember, because they know this had so many and so many calories and I don't have enough calories and I want this because it's going to deliver enough energy for me. Just don't give in. Eat plant-based food that has enough calories, like probably a similar amount to the stuff that you are craving right now, and you will see it will go away with time. So definitely something you have to do. Now, I have never been a person who would care about calorie intake that much, and I never counted calories, so it was new for me. But it was actually a really big help to check it out every now and then, just to make sure that all the food that I'm eating is nutrition, like there's enough nutrition for me. I was looking for another word. Nutritious, that's the word I was looking for. Anyway, the last thing I would recommend to anyone who is just transitioning into veganism or who is thinking about going vegan, don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. I'm pretty sure that any vegan YouTuber or any vegan food blogger will be very happy to help you out as long as they know the answer. Sometimes when you will ask a question on a bigger channel, the channel owner won't be always able to answer every single question personally, but very often the community is very happy to help. So definitely ask for help if you need it. There's nothing wrong with that. You can also always ask me on my channel under any of my videos. As long as I know the answer and as long as I'm able to help, I will gladly do so. And I think that's pretty much it for today. And I would like to repeat again, you are not a bad person if you just went vegetarian, if it takes time for you to switch to veganism. You're not a bad person if you accidentally buy something that has animal ingredients in it. And you're not a bad person if the whole switch to being a vegan takes time, because you are an original. We all are different and we should actually be compassionate. We actually should help each other instead of telling each other that we are bad people just because we don't do things just like Bob does, or I don't know, Carl. So that's what I also wanted to say again at the end, because I find it so super important. And I hope that you like today's video, and I also hope that it has been helpful to at least one person out there. That's why I'm filming these videos. And if you have any questions, just write them down below and I will do my best to answer all of them. And thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to filming the next episode, because the next episode is going to be about beauty stuff. So if you already have some questions about that, you can write them down below as well. And I love you guys so much. If you like today's video, don't forget to give it a thumb up. You can also share it with anyone who you think might benefit from this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you didn't yet. And as usual, I have linked and listed so much stuff down below in the description box. So again, thank you so much for watching. I'm sending so much love to all of you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing you with my next video. Bye!